thanks for doing this with me
No
today.
problem. It's a pleasure, and I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, this is great. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me and talk about some surfing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're here for, so let's get into it.
For sure. Cool. So why don't you just jump right in and just why don't you let me know where you're from and how surfing started in your life?
So originally I'm from Ohio, but throughout my childhood I moved around a lot. My mom was in the Army, so we lived in Korea, multiple states, so all around, but I finished high school in Ohio. So I'd say, Ohio is where I got, my teenage years.
Where did you learn to surf?
So it's crazy. I know a lot of people started off, their dad pushed them in the water, or their mom. But for me, I actually learned how to surf late bloomer. I started at 21 years old, really 20. I got out of boot camp and I got stationed in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, an amazing place. But before that, I actually went to A school in Washington. So I surfed the Pacific Northwest, specifically a little town called Westport. And that's where I learned how to surf among, frozen logs in the water, but Westport, Washington, right on the edge of Canada. So that's how I started surfing. Crazy experience. And then obviously I got to go to Pearl Harbor where things were amazing and a lot different conditions.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, extremely different conditions. I'm originally from the Northwest as well, Oregon, and the difference between surfing,
It's night and day. I mean, the thing is like, so, but the great thing is that it instills in passion. So wherever you start learning to surf or wherever, you're always going to remember that. And for me, that 3-hour drive listening to, Jack Johnson and whatever's on the radio in these small little lumber towns that we drove through, it's amazing. So I wouldn't trade that 3 hours, 5'3" booties. I mean, the coldest, at least I've ever dealt with, forever.
Whoa. So your first experience surfing was in the state of Washington.
Yeah, a little town, Westport. It's like a little resort town that's open 2 months out of the year, because that's the only time Washington. So it was amazing. It was a lot of times it was just me and my buddy out, because fishermen would be going by on their boats, but I was so driven to learn and have that experience. So I was there for about a year, and then I transferred to Pearl Harbor. So it was a fun little year of trying to learn how to pop up and feel my feet, So good times.
Now, were you were already in the military when you were in
Correct.
Washington?
Yeah. So in the military, there's multiple schools you go to. So I was in the submarines, right? Little known fact, I served aboard fast attack submarines. It's the smallest special operations branch of everybody else. There's more SEAL teams than there's fast attack, for the most part. But yeah, I had an A school in Washington State. So I was there for about a year and a half before I went to my final duty station, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, where I was attached to my submarine. So very intensive. Most people are in college at this point. I'm having my military college, so to speak. So it was an awesome time, and I made the most of it. And Washington's a beautiful place. Yeah. It's just very cold, But the surfing was, I don't know, I feel like sometimes if you don't have perfect conditions, it makes it that much more exciting, So.
How often would you get to surf while you were in school?
Yeah, I mean,
military
so,
stuff
obviously I didn't have the luxury of getting out of class midday to go surf like most college kids did. So for me, I did it whenever I could. So whether I drove 3 hours one way and didn't sleep the next day, or when I was in training or live ammunitions training. So I didn't surf as much as I wanted to, but the times I did go out, I would cherish it. It was like a road trip. 3 hours to the unknown. And back then there was no surf line. There was nothing there's no live up to date. So it's literally you cross your fingers and make it a day. But I try to surf, 2 times a week if possible, if I wasn't doing missions on a local submarine. So whenever I was on land, I'm surfing.
And it was a 3-hour trip for you each time you wanted to get to the
water?
water?
So it was about a 3-hour trip. I mean, you had to go through the mountains and windy, windy roads. It wasn't like a straight shot, It wasn't like LA where the 405 is very accessible. It was about 3 hours. And we're talking like a little blimp on the road, one street tourist where they sold sand dollars and stuff. So past that is the great unknown. I mean, it wasn't a destination. I mean, I think at the time, I don't know if Amazon was around, but I remember getting gear and hopefully nothing would break. Because when you're out there, you know what I mean? It was cool. I felt like a lumberjack, right? Because there was no, let me get a ding repair kit real quick. It was break a fin and you're out there, you know? I mean, we're talking logs in the waters. I'm pretty sure it's commercialized now, but Westport's a really cool spot. You should look it up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I need to check that out for sure. So when you started surfing there, was there someone that taught you? Did you guys teach yourself? You had your buddy.
Yeah, so and I should have said this earlier. So my buddy Hollywood, Frederick Hollywood Novorokias, full name, he was my battle buddy, right? He was my mentor who I was assigned to when I got to the boat, right? So he would tell me how to learn all the operations, not to mess up, and he was basically responsible for me. CPUP, that's what I was called. That was a program. So luckily for me, he's from Hawaii, born and bred Filipino Hawaiian from the island of Kauai, where the most, ferocious, well-respected surfers come from, and just a beautiful place. And he took me under his wing. I was a white pasty kid, super skinny, but he took me under his wings, and I don't know how it happened, but he told me that he was going to go to this beach, and I wanted to go with him, and I think it kind of blossomed from there. I mean, I felt like if this white kid is going to go surf with him and he's never surfed before, then he's going to take a chance on me. And I think the first board I ever bought was a Pearson Aero. It was on the way there halfway, there's a little other town, but we bought a used board. I had a 6'8" Pearson Aero, super crappy board. But we bought our boards together, and he kind of showed me the way. He taught me the basics and stuff. It really kind of opened it up for me. And then further did that when we got back to the islands. So he was the one who taught me how to surf, taught me the rules and regulations, although it was just me and him out in the water. So it wasn't applicable. But yeah, Hollywood Navor, shout out to Hollywood. He's still in Kauai right now, but he taught me the ways. Yeah. And he's like a 5'4", pure Hawaiian beast. So yeah, he's the one who taught me everything.
That's so cool. That's so cool. So would you say that surfing clicked for you in while you were still in Washington, or when you were over in Hawaii, or when did you really feel like, because it's a journey, right? Surfing's a journey.
Right.
We're always learning, we're experimenting with new boards and techniques, but when you finally were like,
For me, it clicked when I read the waves, right? Not even popping up, but when I could paddle out there and get to the safe zone and kind of just bob and wow, I'm one with nature, but I'm also a fragile human being, and we don't know what lurks beneath, So long story short, for me, it clicked when I was able to paddle out, get out of the danger zone, and kind of start to read the waves. Not even before popping up or the bottom turn, which is amazing moments in your life, but getting out to the water and saying, okay, I got here. Now I can kind of analyze the situation or just be at one with the moment. So it clicked for me probably right there in Westport, right? I mean, the energy was there every day. It was a new adventure. Military life is very hard. When you're a young person, you miss your family. You have a buddy you connect with, and then you're on this new journey together. Even though he's a surfer, but he's far from home.
Yeah.
So for me, getting past the whitewash, getting slammed in the water, getting ice cream sandwiches, being in the water past the break, and kind of realizing you're there, right? And then it's just whatever you can do with nature. Whatever nature is going to provide to you, that's the dance you're going to have for the day. So getting to that moment, actually being able to sit down, rest my shoulders, right? Because you're burnt out from paddling, get a breath. That was probably the moment it clicked for me. Wow, this is going to be a never-ending journey of discovery and excitement. But you still got to get out to the breakwater and kind of see it for what it is. And that's where it clicked for me, probably, if I had to put on a moment. And then the bottom turn.
Yeah, right? You never forget that first one.
Yeah, and you're also learning your footing, right?
Yeah.
So your bottom turn, first one is probably opposite.
I can't remember, you're goofy or regular?
So I switch it up, right?
Okay.
So
look at you.
Yeah, so I mean, so that answer is even more, muddled, right? Even more confusing. So for me, I switch it up a lot, and I'll throw the leash on how I'm feeling, which is very weird. But I started off goofy, but I'll switch it for whatever I want, But at Westport at the time, off the harbor is a right, so my backside worked well for me at that moment. But and I don't know if this is going to help, but the longer I surf, it doesn't really matter. I hang up labels and stuff. So whatever I'm feeling like during the day, I'll just switch out my legs. It's confusing a lot to my friends, but it's fun for me, you know. So, yeah.
What do you like most or least about surfing?
So for me, surfing's the ultimate, right? Most of my friends will tell you I'm very passionate about surfing. But as far as, you know, negativities go, I always tell people your ego is not your ego, right? And it's cool because I'm 33 now and I started when I was 20 or so. So I have a little bit of experience behind me. But most people, when they get in the water, if they're going to have a bad time, they know before they get in the water. Whether they're aggressive, whether they had a bad day, and it kind of translates into interactions with other people. So for me, the worst thing about surfing, even though it's not really bad, is other people's attitudes, right? Look, we're all on one planet. There's only so much water. There'll be another wave, right? It doesn't make sense to get heated over something that's supposed to be pure fun, right? Some people think of it as a sport nowadays and their sponsorships, WSL. But for me, surfing, and I know the history because my friend, I was lucky enough to be raised in the Hawaiian culture when I got to Hawaii, in the Filipino culture, and this rich history of surfing, but pure fun. So when you come into the water, you should think about that, right? Take that little key piece. This is going to be pure fun. You know, attitude is really not welcome here. It doesn't help anybody. Yeah. So for me, the negative thing about surfing is people's attitudes and trying to own the water, right? Yeah. This is a space for everybody to have fun. Obviously know the rules, but if you mess up, you mess up. So attitudes, in LA, there's a lot of attitude, right? But you can always paddle away from those people. The great thing I like about surfing is it's relatively cheap, right? Mm-hmm. It's an amazing workout, and also too, I don't know, it's the only place I can go to get away and escape, and there's always something new every day. So that's kind of the pros and cons on a short list, you know?
For sure. You touch on so many good points too. Surfing is fun. That's why none of us would continue to do it if it wasn't fun. I feel like that's the thing. We all go out there for a lot of different reasons, but that stoke is what always keeps us out in the water. And
yeah, that's the core.
Yeah, that's the core. And it makes it super challenging when you run into other mindsets or other personalities out there that can clash with that.
Right. I mean, the fact that localism, listen, you know, somebody at one point taught you how to surf, right? They gave you that gift, that secret, if you will. So the mindset of saying, like, this is my break or something along those lines, localism, aggressive, that should all go away because you're bound to experience that yourself at some other place, right? It's just a never-ending cycle of, you know, just misguided anger and hate. So the good thing about LA and California, we have a long coast. So we can go somewhere else, but it doesn't make it any better knowing that there are breaks that, you know, we shouldn't go to. Right. Because of, you know, just listen, this area is like that, and it's unfortunate, you know.
Right. But you touched on a good point as well, too. If you understand the rules of surfing,
absolutely,
then you can surf at maybe a more territorial spot or something, as long as you respect the nature of surfing to keep safety in mind.
I mean, one of the things that I learned, and I'm sorry to cut you off, one of the things that I learned is that, you know, whenever going to a new break, try to have a buddy come with you that's from that area, right? So that way you can pay respect to the people that live there, right? Because I'm not an animal. I know there's rules and regulations. But also take a moment, right? Take a look at the break, see what's going on before you just dive in. It will help you a lot more than you know. And then also, you know, I always say, see if anybody's getting out of the water in your local parking lot. You know, it doesn't hurt to ask. It's better to look like a fool for a second and then have that knowledge so when you go out in the water, you know, you're not going to look like a fool in the water. And it's just going to make you have a better opportunity and better time to catch waves, right? Because the whole point of getting wet, getting out in the water is to catch a wave. So if you can educate yourself, whether it's the rules, whether it's the local lineup, or just see how that break works, you're going to have a better chance of having fun. And in this world, it's so busy nowadays, you have to really maximize your time. You know, and once all that's done, just paddle out and just enjoy the time, right? So I feel like that's probably good education or good pointers for people who are going to a new break.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's really important to, if you're going to a new spot, to always watch first. Like go to places, see how it works, see what's happening, see how the wave works on different conditions.
Yeah.
And yeah, super.
And always
important.
cruise your local parking lot.
Yeah.
You know.
So how does surfing affect your day to day?
So for me, it's very easy, right? Scientifically proven. There's been studies. I feel better coming out than going in, right? I mean, I think every surfer can, relate to that. But for me, it's my workout. It's my gym. It's where I go to get sane. But it's an instant endorphin booster, just positive mood enhancer. So for me, I try to surf once a day. With my job allowing to it, but I always feel better coming out, and it's a great exercise, you know.
Yeah. So what would you say is your, like, do you have a go-to like wave or spot or?
Yeah, I mean, so I've recently moved back up here to LA Ventura area from San Diego, where I spent a stint. My favorite spot for the most part is going to be C Street, and luckily, I don't know if we'll see it on camera, but it's right behind us, which is awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. The view is amazing. But C Street's an amazing spot because it's got the benefits of Malibu. It's got it's so spread out that you can be a beginner, not really burn people, right? And it's also can get powerful. But my favorite wave would probably be C Street. I love Santa Monica, local shout outs. I used to surf there every day after school. That's actually where we met. Bay Street bombs. So Bay Street is amazing. And then Venice, Venice is, for me, it was my spot. But I would say for my most pure fun, C Street, right? It's always a good time there. The crowd is great, and it's good for shortboard and longboard, which is good for everybody.
It's such a good wave.
Yeah, it's clean.
It's such a good wave.
On low going up, it just can be long lines, right?
Yeah, and down on the inside sections too, like it can get really racy depending on the swell.
And the point's good too. So I mean, it's a cool little spot, small little sleep town, but C Street would be good.
Can you, speaking of waves, can you tell me, and just kind of backtrack a little bit, can you tell me about your first wave? Do you remember?
Yeah, so, obviously Westport is amazing, windy, bluffy, surfing Canadian, border, Washington, freezing cold water. But for me, I would say my first wave that I truly kind of stood up on is like, wow, I'm really gliding on water. Probably Kewalos. That's a town side in Oahu. An amazing spot right across from Bulls, which is a famous left. But I remember a Kewalos is probably 3 to 4 feet. I've been surfing now for, I'd say probably 6 months on and off on the tail end of transferring to Pearl Harbor. But Kewalos is a clean little 4 foot. It's a quick right. It's also a body surfing area, so you gotta be careful, respect the locals. But I got a clean right, and it's right in that channel, and the water's so nice, and there's no wetsuit, but it was just a perfect little right bottom turn, and then I just rode it straight. Nothing crazy, no snaps, but I was like, man, this is where the moment I knew I bottom turned, but I can stand and look down and had enough time while still riding the wave. Because Hawaii is very famous for long rides. Venice, short breaks here in California, we're lucky if we get those, right? Or Zuma. So I would say Kewalos, townside Oahu, my first bottom turn right, coming up high line and just pumping. That was my first wave that I can clearly I did it, I made it. I'm here. So yeah, that'd be it, Kewalos. Yeah.
And as far as size is concerned, are you do you have a preference as far as conditions are concerned?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the great thing about surf, it humbles you very quickly, right? So for me, most of the boards that I shape or have are for head high and below. I remember when I was in Hawaii, obviously trying to prove myself, and because it's a very tight-knit community there, I surf, bulls can get jacked up big, but I surfed, I think, the biggest I've done that I'm comfortable with is, I don't want to say double overhead, but 9 to 10. Which is almost double overhead if I'm 6 foot. And I'm sure I can do bigger with better equipment. For right now, though, I don't really worry about the size. It's more about how much fun you're having, right? Because that's the best. But for me, comfortable wise, the boards that I have set up right now, probably at 10 to 12. That'd probably be it. Now that's not Hawaiian, because Hawaiian realistically be 3 feet on top of that. So Hawaiian probably like 6 to 8. Yeah? But it's all about having fun. So if you're in doubt, don't go out. That's really true. Everybody should definitely apply that. But overhead, be comfortable with. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a great fun size.
And it's also gonna be punchy. I mean, you can have 3 foot waves that smack you down. Zuma is not that big, but it's powerful.
Yeah.
So it all depends on the wave size and the consistency and what it breaks on.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Sure. So speaking of equipment then, and you just mentioned that you have a
Correct.
plethora of options.
Yes.
You just showed me a new carbon fiber.
Yeah,
If you could surf just like, I know you have a bunch, but if you
Right.
could surf one, or do you have a go-to, what's your go-to?
Yeah, so my go-to, we were just discussing, shout out to, Rhett, my local shaper, RD Surfboards, have to give a plug out to him in LA. We're always working on new technology. I'm always asking him to push the boundaries, right? I need the strongest board, but lightest possible, right? So, we worked on this carbon board, then it's so powerful, carbon is so durable that you have to vacuum seal these bags now to get that resin to adhere to the board. So he made me kind of your performance go-to everyday, chest to head high, beach break, little punch to it. So that carbon fiber, I think it's a 6.0, he just shaped me. That's kind of my go-to board. It's a advanced version of my old one. But I've really been digging the 7.0. I have a 7.0 single fin, bright pink. I like to do a lot of 80s neon colors just to, just to pop in the water. But my 7.0 single fin has been fun. It's got enough volume that I can flick my toes and get it pumping, but it's also got enough volume that it can compete with the longboarders, and enough maneuverability that I can, play around with the shortboarders. So it's an interesting space. I've never really done mid lengths before, especially single fins, but that guy's probably my go-to. It's just so fun to carve and ride. Yeah, the 7.0 for sure.
Yeah, those single fins are really, really fun.
And I always suggest, I tell people, you're never old enough to try something new, right? So throw a single fin underneath you, get a quad, get crazy with the 20, I see so many people struggling and angry, interactions with them, and they're on a shortboard that's super high performance. I really think if we detach our ego, there's so much you can learn. And that's just me. That's why I have so many boards, because it's so fun to test your muscles in different ways, and you got to keep it light. Otherwise, surfing will become a sport, and then there's so much more involved, and it kind of takes away the spirit, or the freedom of what surfing really is.
Right. That's a big topic of discussion that seems to always end up in our lap, is getting the most out of your sessions. And getting the most out of your sessions would be having the equipment that suits the different conditions. So if you have more volume for a specific kind of day, or if you need a more performance oriented board that's can give you more maneuverability or whatever it is that the conditions dictate, but wave count, right?
Right. I think you nailed it on the head, right? So it's like, surfing is so bipolar in a way, right? Because everybody wants to have fun, but then you throw in all these gear, and now you're like sports, and there's different training and different fins. But it's true. There's a hint of truth to that. Obviously, try to have the board that's going to work with the wave you're surfing, right? So wave count. We always want wave count, especially in our busy lives here in LA or in California. It's all about the wave count. But I always recommend people, step outside your boundary, look at other boards, because that thruster is nice looking, but if you're not catching waves, are you really surfing? Are you having fun? To each their own, though, at the same time. But it does, I always paddle out to guys, not everybody, but, people that have a good vibe around them, and I ask them about their boards, and, I even switch out boards in the water to strangers so they can test it out, because I want people to really kind of use different boards, because you're right, it's all about wave count. And if you're not catching waves, then, that board isn't, that $700, I don't know, for discussion's sake, Hypto Crypto is nice looking, right?
Yeah.
But if it's not catching the wave, it's like, man, I really feel bad for you.
Well, if they have, say, a high performance surfboard like you're talking about, but it's just not the right conditions for the board, it's
Right.
really it's gonna make it more challenging for them in that session.
Right.
Where if they need more volume, or if it needs to be shorter, longer, whatever
Right.
the case, and that's cool that you just let people use your board.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm not like out there like doing a demo every day, but the thing is, I really believe in paying it forward, right? So somebody taught me how to surf. Somebody opened up their house, their home. I mean, I go to, I see them all the time to Auntie's house and get pancit and lumpia and all this other good food. And it's not just Hawaiian people. Everybody can do this. It's just, it started off with a simple gesture of goodwill, right? So for me, maybe I'm just a different breed, or maybe I'm just different altogether, but passion surfing is always going to be there. And if I can help somebody, or just ask them why. But lately I've seen a lot of people doing funky shapes, and that makes me excited, right? And like I said, all my boards are very neon colored, so I'm a very easy target in the water. So I have a lot of conversations come from just the boards being colored. But yeah, try different boards. It's not going to hurt you. You're still going to be cool with your friends. Try different boards, and you'll be surprised on how much fun you have. And also new challenges, So I definitely say switch it up to people, right? They'll get more waves and more fun. And they're less aggressive in the water, and then that circle is almost done, right? So it's a circle of life.
I like that. Yeah, that's really cool. I could not agree more. I was discussing this the other day. I'm all about more volume these days, and just like wave count, and I still,
You can still be aggressive.
Yeah, you can still do all of those things, but trying those funky shapes, or different fin setups, different lengths, all those things improve your entire body of work, so to speak, as a surfer. You can learn so much new stuff on different sizes, different shapes, and it's so fun.
Yeah.
Surfing a single fin, a 7.0 single fin, I want to take it out right now.
Right. I mean, it's a new experience, right?
Yeah.
If you can surf something that's going to replicate, I don't know, your first wave, or your first couple of months where you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna make this drop, or yada yada, something like that, that should entice you, right? And that's why I always say, but once again, the great thing about surfing is to each their own. I'm always here with open arms, but for me, my journey has been like that. Try something new. If you like it, great. If don't, but that's the awesome thing. There's so much. Just standing up on a board and going right is just the tip of the iceberg, right, so to speak. There's so much in the surfing world has to offer, and if you want to, you can have a lot of fun. And if you don't want to, then you can have your performance board and be grumpy, 6 months out of the year. But I mean, that's the awesome thing about surfing. There's so many opportunities, and there's so many people trying new things, and I'm just happy to be kind of dipping into that, that pool of knowledge. Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that like surfing's your workout.
Right.
Surfing's your workout. You try to get in the water as much as you can on a day-to-day.
Correct.
Do you do any other type of training outside of the water?
Working for myself, being self-employed has given me the opportunity to kind of manage my own schedule. So as I get older, as a lot of us are, yoga is very amazing, right? I mean, if Kelly Slater, the world champ for X amount of years, can do it, then everybody should be able to do it. But yoga for me is really helping open up my back, because I got injured in the military and I had my back fused. So as I get older, my limitations on my back are more apparent. So I definitely recommend yoga. And also before surfing, like I said, I started out late. I was a huge runner. I'm not Laird Hamilton who's running with the boulder under the pool. I would if I could, but I don't have a pool. But I think cardio is amazing. I think running or just being active, just because a lot of people don't realize surfing is probably 70% paddling, if that, right? So always kind of having that cardio. But for me personally, like I said, a little bit of mix of yoga. I try to run if it's flat. I still carve up the streets when I can. I have my carver, my board, I'll go in the parking lot and see what's going on. But for the most part, I try to stay active. I think surfing isn't really a bodybuilder sport, so you don't want to get too bulky. But I'd say running and yoga would be my other, and skateboarding, But anything anything near the water is always going to get you pumped up. Yeah. Or bike ride. Go for a bike ride with your family. You know, that's what I do.
Right. Yeah. Staying active is super key. So much time is spent in the water, not actually riding waves.
Yeah.
And just being fit. I mean, nothing really matches like staying in paddle shape. But
Right. So, you know, a couple of years ago, I went stand-up paddling in the harbor in Venice. I didn't try to catch any waves because that's a little kookish for me, but that's an amazing. I mean, the whole motion you get with your arms and paddling is the closest you're going to get unless you're physically out there paddling. But I think the cool thing about surfing is, and I always say, talk to your local shaper. You can make boards to hide volume. You can still blade out the rails and tails, so you can still be performance-wise. But you can always add more volume to your board and get away with it. If you're, you know, I'm a pretty skinny guy, but I have the craft beer gut working on. So if there's a will, there's a way. Talk to your local shaper, see if he can make you a little bit more volume, you know. But I think staying active is key for anything, just general health.
Yeah. Yeah, being able to the things that they can do with the surfboards these days and packing volume into such small areas is incredible. And you can get that almost like a longer board feel in those shorter boards. You know? It's really incredible.
I mean, I think the cool thing about surfing is that, look, there's surfers still out there 50, 60 years old. You know, no other sport's really like that, except for maybe golf. But the cool thing about surfing, you can surf till you die. I mean, you can make a board tailored to your needs and stuff. And it's also a good idea, too, not only just to make a custom board, it's get to know your shaper, right? You know, I have a great relationship with mine. His name is Rhett, but kind of learn about how a board's made and why. So that way, if you are struggling, right, with your board and you haven't done yoga for the week or something like that, and you need to get a new board, you can understand the concepts of it, right? So I always tell people to go for that reason alone. Get to know why your board works the way it does and kind of feel it out.
It's interesting. Yeah, I don't think that a lot of people. I mean, some people do. It just kind of depends on your style.
Right.
Whether you are the kind of guy that has a close relationship with the shaper to tailor it to your needs and your desires and things that you're trying, or you're the type of person that just was like, oh, I'll take this one.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
You know, and I'm not here to judge or anything like that. I just know for me personally, right, it's been a great advantage for me to get in the shop, get my hands dirty, scrape foam, look at the stringers. Now, you don't have to go so as detailed in that, but I still think you should, just like any sport, the more you put into it, the better, the more you get out, right? Whether it's training, but basic knowledge. But it's cool. You'll be surprised to see how a board is made. But yeah, some people don't have the time for that. So they'll just grab a Firewire or something like that. Nothing wrong, but I always say, if you're struggling or you want to learn more, either talk to the surfboard maker if you can, right? The Firewire or any demo or any shop that's knowledgeable, or if you get a chance, meet a local shaper, right? Either way, the more you know, the better it's going to be, because not everybody's going to be young forever, right? I'm 33. I know my paddling power is not as good as when we first met back in the day, so I have to compensate for that or adjust. And I think it's a great tool that you can have in your pocket if you want to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just grab a board off the shelf. Once again, surfing is different for everybody.
Yeah.
So, to each their own.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's a great point, and I think that just doing the research, like getting out there and trying new things, and then also doing research on different types of setups, different types of shapes and volumes, and all those things is super beneficial.
Right.
Super beneficial.
It's crazy. I mean, there's so many combinations now, but whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I just think it's beneficial if you put in a little bit of time, because if you're not struggling, great. But if you want to take your surfing to the next level, maybe, or you want to know why your board kicks out or is squirrely, because the ultimate goal for me is, for if I have friends in my circle, is to have them shape, right? There's nothing better or cooler to see somebody test out their design that they made, right? That's another thing about surfing, like, nobody else is going to shape a baseball bat if you're, or a tennis racket if you play tennis. So I think that's another cool little, the inside surfing. You can make the thing that you take out on the water, right? So, It's just the next step after you meet your local shaper.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool.
That is super cool. That is super cool. So speaking of sports and whatnot, surfing is now California's official state sport.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
That's funny you bring up. So, you know, I've been a big fan of WSL and the guys in the back and ESP and all that. I'm kind of torn. I'm sure, like most people are. I think that the recognition on a national level or on a state level is amazing.
Okay.
I think that it's gives opportunities to maybe fund up and coming surfers. However, right, with publicity, it also brings a lot of people that aren't really truly for the pastime, I'll call it, for conversation's sake. So, you know, I think in Huntington, you know, and other places like that where people crowd, they also leave a lot of trash. So the whole point, you know, of surfing is try to be sustainable. It's also a double-edged sword too. So when you have these people come and there's trash, I mean, that's not a huge thing, but you also bring publicity to spots that, you know, would like to be lesser known, right? And then also, I feel, for me, surfing isn't a sport. I hold it very near and dear to my heart, and it's almost like a, you know, obviously I'm not Hawaiian, but being brought up in that fold of surfing, I hold it very religiously almost. So I'm fearful that it's going to get watered down. But the cool thing about surfing is that you can choose to engage in WSL or any you know, organized event, and you can be on the leaderboards and you can download the app and all that stuff. But for me, as long as it doesn't affect, and this might sound selfish, but as long as it doesn't affect my surfing points, I don't really care. I mean, I love Kelly Slater, you know, I love, you know, the competition. Mick just dropped out, which is a bummer because he was an amazing surgeon. But sometimes I feel that, I don't know, I don't want to commercialize the thing you love. Probably that's the best way to describe it. And if it does get commercialized, that's fine, because I'll still surf the next day, right? Whether it's a crappy break or it's a very known break. As long as surfing doesn't get to the point where I have to pay to get into my local break, right? Whether there's a contest going on or that now it's a sponsored parking lot of WSL that you have to pay $5 or something like that. But I've kind of gone off on a rant. I don't really care about WSL. I love surfing. It's never going to change. Am I going to pay to see it live, you know, on Facebook? Probably not, right? I rather much see, you know, Rasta do some freestyle, right? Or some of the other guys, or even Rob, seen some of his killer videos, or Dane Reynolds, you know, hometown hero. So the commercialized version of surfing makes me laugh, because the whole point of surfing comes from humble roots. Will it affect me personally, individually? Probably not, unless they come take over my local break and make it into a contest. But if it helps surfing, you know, that's great. We just have to be careful not to take away the true, like, soul and passion of surfing by throwing a whole bunch of brands on it, you know. So, bittersweet.
Okay.
Yeah, 50-50, so to speak, you know.
Yeah, no, that's cool. It's so interesting to hear other people's perspectives on when things like that take place. Because to me,
Right.
it's a very interesting topic to bring up, because everyone has a different take on it.
It's a great
right?
concept.
And for me personally, I really embrace surfing as California sport, just because of how it is embedded into California culture, and
Right.
like, especially in Southern California, the towns and everything like that. And on the other side, I see so much of what you're talking about, but I think it's pretty cool that the state recognizes that it's such a heavy influence into
Right.
Californians.
It's a validation a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Not that we need it, right? Because people have been surfing for a long time. No, I agree with you that it's awesome that it's recognized on that level.
Yeah.
I'm fearful because we as humans, yeah, right? The commercialization of it worries me, because there's going to be people. The whole thing about most surfers are going to be ego-minded, right? They're not going to. For me personally, perfect example. If I see trash in the water in Venice, I used to do this all the time. I'd put it in my wetsuit, right in the chest, right, and bring it back. So imagine if people are going to do the next big thing in LA, right? Everybody's looking for a cool thing to do on the weekends. Huntington Beach, like I said earlier, when large groups of people come and they trash the beach, see, that's the part that I get upset about or worried. So I'm right there with you. I think it's awesome that it's recognized. I just hope that they kind of maintain the ethos of surfing and sustainability and just being respectful.
Sure. 100%.
Whatever event comes to play, right?
Right, 100%.
So that's probably the better way to answer.
Right, 100%. Keep it sustainable, keep things clean, moving forward. Right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a couple surfers in there, Machado, Rostovich, and those kind of guys, Kelly as well.
Yep.
Mick, I know you threw that out. Is there someone, doesn't have to be a professional surfer or anyone like that, but is there someone out there that you would love to surf a session with, just to go paddle out with and watch them surf? I mean, and surf with them and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned a lot of these people, and it's hard to make that decision, right? So for me, hopefully through this interview, you'll find out that I'm very low-key surfer, right? I love surfing. I don't really care about all the other things, but surfing as a pure, almost holy experience, that's what I like. So the best person that I probably want to surf with that emulates that would probably be Rasta. Just because, without going into a long tangent, this guy's been on free surfing for the better part of his tour, of his professional career. And he left the tour because he was seeing changes that he didn't like. But more importantly, looking at some of his old videos from the 90s and early 2000s, he surfs some of the craziest boards, from like a 5'1" to a door. So for me, that free spirit kind of, let's just surf because surfing is pure, I think I'd paddle out very well and it'd be a great experience. I love energy of people that are happy to be in the water, right? Get pumped up in the parking lot. And I think he'd be the perfect paddle out buddy. That or Clay, because Clay, I just love to see how he sticks his feet on his laybacks. It's like glue. But I would say Rasta just for his free spirit. Yeah, that'd be my buddy.
For sure. Yeah. That would be super fun. And the ocean itself, right? So for surfers, that's like, you mentioned a lot of this earlier, going out into the water. It's your place, it's your, your workout, where you get to have fun. Yeah. And can you build on that, on what the ocean means to you?
Yeah, so I mean, for everybody it's different, right? So it's cool, right? But when you link up with somebody else that surfs and has that kind of same mindset, it's even better. So for me, I kind of went everywhere and anywhere, but for me, surfing is basically, I learned how to surf in some of the roughest times of my life, right? I surfed in literally the roughest of waters, right, in the beginning. And I hold that so, without being cheesy, but so dear to my heart because it's such an amazing experience. And then going to Hawaii, the birthplace of surfing for the most part, and meeting people, surfing with these people, learning the history, learning how, what pigeon meant when people were talking in the water, right? And all this basis, again, like a boot camp of Hawaiian experience in surfing was an amazing experience. So I carry that everywhere I go, and I try to live through that as I surf. But the water itself is my workout. It is my gym. It's my sanctuary, and I try to surf early in the morning, and we can talk about that, the best times. But when I'm out there by myself, in the rare times it's maybe me or a couple people line up, the ocean's everything, right? And I try to pick up the trash when I'm out there, but I mean, it's all I do, right? Some people, have multiple sports. No, for me it's surfing, right? That's it. Running or a couple bikes, but like that is my sole purpose. And it's so amazing when you have a great day, and it's still amazing when you don't have a great day and you're paddling around. So for me, the ocean is top priority. And I try to do my part to keep it clean, but I mean, that's how important it is for me. It's if I could, have a houseboat, I would live out on the water, right? I mean,
you can
take this apart. Yeah, you can, right? Take it to, but yeah, I mean, it's that important to me that I don't meet that many people that take it that important, right? There's a few small friends, you included, that appreciate the water and they know how important it is, not just for surfing, but everything else, right? So, I'm not a crusader, I'm not a marcher, but I know how important it is. And even on a non-political level, if the water's dried up or got even more polluted than they are, then we wouldn't be able to surf, right? So it's like, but it's everything for me. I mean, it's that important. Hopefully that answered it.
Yeah, no, that's...
Trying to think, I don't want to go off. I'm like, it's...
No, that's super cool. I mean, like you said, so everybody means something different to everyone, but it's
Right.
really just cool to hear how you feel about it, what it means to you, what it can provide, and you mentioned you go in the mornings most. Do you do any
Yeah,
time,
so
or?
I mean, obviously, as we get older, right, we have responsibilities, kids, house,
Sure.
jobs. But the best time to go surfing, in my opinion, obviously it changes because surfing is so cool because it can be simple and pure, and then it's like super crazy. Now you have cams, you're checking the wind blowing, right? So it can go that way. But for me, the best time most of the time is in the morning, right? I mean, we both know this. The
Sure.
wind is died down, or there's not that much wind. Most people are at work, so you make the sacrifice of getting up early, right? And hopefully the tides are working for you as well. But for me, there's something spiritual. And when I say spiritual earlier, and this is what it's going to tie into. So sometimes, most of the time I see animal activities in the morning or late afternoon. So when you're in Santa Monica or you're in Venice or even Long Beach or Pedro, when you see dolphins cresting, come on, man. I don't even have to pay a ticket to go see an aquarium. It's right there in front of me. So that's even more special, right? When you see a sunrise or a sunset and it looks like, an egg is being cracked on the water and you see dolphins, I mean, it's even more awesome of a day. So the best time for me probably in the morning or late afternoon.
Yeah.
Midday is just going to be a bunch of crowds, right? But you get it where you can.
Yeah,
right? And if you can't, and then once again,
Yeah.
right, shape a board that you can plow through, right? I have enough
Yeah.
volume, so yeah. I mean, but there's nothing like gliding on water, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I said that earlier, but whether it's your first wave, my first bottom turn, the first right, when you have a chance to get on a board that you make by yourself or somebody, it's even more special. But gliding on water, whatever instrument you use, whatever stoke you have, there's nothing else like it, right? It's literally a liquid movement. It's amazing. No other sport you can go to a tennis court and just sit there and gaze at it for an hour. I'm like, man, that's amazing, right? So for me, the ocean is all encompassing. For all my sports I do there. Yeah. And if I'm not surfing, I'm skimboarding or bodyboarding.
What?
Yeah.
Skimboarding's intense.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's hard as you get older because it's full sprints. But, that's where I knew I was hooked, right? When I was with my girlfriend at the time, she's like, you have a lot of water equipment. It's like, yeah, but it's fun. I suggest anybody try to skimboard in the summertime and stretch before you do it. Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. There's so much you can do.
Yeah.
And there's so many places you can start. It's such a cool thing,
Super cool. Well, Cory, this has been awesome.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you taking the time out to do this and chat with us on Onshore.
No problem.
And it's been fun, man.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And like I said, anytime you want to talk to me, please do. I think this is amazing. And I think it's going to be really cool for the viewers and people to see this, to see different perspectives.
Yeah.
And also see people in different stages of their surfing. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. That's what we want to do. We want to reach out and connect to everyday surfers, people that have from all walks of life and
Right.
get to surf at different times that aren't professionals, are professionals, are shapers, aren't shapers, whoever. But just to make that connection and to hear everyone's stories about how they got into it, it's really special.
And also too, an insight, right? If there's anybody watching this that wants to surf, I mean, I think this is going to be a plethora of information, but I think if you can get somebody who is on the fence and do it, I think that's even awesome too. So it's going to be a great encyclopedia for surfers, and then I think for newcomers, it's going to be answering a lot of questions.
For sure.
Cool.
For sure. Thanks, man.
No worries, man.
All right, dude. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Likewise.
All right,
Awesome.
Cory. Thanks, man.
Was that all the questions?
That's it.